Hi everyone, it's Lisa. I hope you're doing well this morning. I am crafting on behalf of the Paris Bourbon County Library. Today we're going to be using bottle caps to create garden art. So let's look at one real quick. Actually, I've done several, but this is just one that I put together last night. But these are just simple bottle caps. There is a kit available for this, and I'll tell you what it includes in just a moment. Let's look at our list of supplies. You are going to need a skewer, and this is going to be for the portion that sticks in your dirt or in your garden. If you have a thick gauge wire or a wire coat hanger that you can cut and use the pieces from it, that probably is going to last longer. So if you have those are fine. If not, use the skewers. Skewers can be replaced. These can just be hot glued onto the back if they should get damaged or start wearing down. Other things that you're going to need, if you're going to paint these, you're going to need a paintbrush and your paints. I did paint one of the flowers, and I'll show you in just a few moments, but I used a chalk paint, and I used an acrylic paint, and I used Mod Podge, and a little bit of white paint. Depending on where these are going to be placed, and how much intensity from the sun and how much wear they might get from being placed in different locations, you may need E6000. You will definitely need a hot glue gun. You will need bottle caps, and if you ask, people will collect these for you. I asked and received a garbage bag full, and I have used it on a couple of our art projects. And then this is optional, and I'll explain why it's optional in a few minutes, but this is the seal from a canning jar lid, and so you may need one of these. So in your kit, you're going to be getting enough of the bottle caps that match to make a flower. You're going to be receiving one of the seals. You'll also be receiving a skewer in your kit, and then I included as well some examples of different ways of making these so that you can be a little bit more creative with them. So let's look at some of the ones that I've already done, and then we'll put a couple of these together today. Now, this is my prototype, and I like it, only it's off-centered, as you can see from the back. I do like the stability of the canning jar seal, but that is optional. This was my second one. I like it as well, although the letter A is in the wrong location, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I did do a better job of centering it on the back, and again, that's how this one was made. This one is a little bit heavier. And then I decided to go without the canning jar lid seal on these, and so this one is just put together with hot glue, and it's very stable. I'm very surprised that it held its shape so well. And then again, this one also with the Coke bottle caps, I used only just the bottle caps and the hot glue. So let's look at how we're going to make these. First, I'm going to need to choose, let's make a bright colored one. I'm going to need to choose 6 bottle caps that match. Do they have to match? No, that is up to you. If you want them to be of different colors, that again is not a problem. It is entirely what you would like for it to be. So I'm going through here and I'm trying to find this one. This one is called Newcastle Brown Ale, and I've got 4. I'm trying not to be too noisy. These bottle caps definitely can create the noise. And I need one more. And here we go. So there's our 6. Now because I've got the orange, I'm going to choose a dark center. So I'm going to choose that one, I think. And I've heated up my glue gun. And these are going on my porch. They're not actually going out into my garden. They're going to stay on my porch and in containers and so forth. So I'm not sure I need to use the E6000, but I'll show you on this one how to incorporate the E6000. So simply all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my center. Let me do this on a paper plate. That way I think you can see it just a little bit better. And I'm going to take my 6. We're going to call these our petals. And we want everything touching. The center. And these are all touching. So my next step, if I'm going to use the E6000, is I'm going to put a little bit out of that on my paper plate to make it a little easier to control. And E6000, as you will know from our past videos, is a strong adhesive. And I'm going to actually break off a little bit of my skewer, and I'm going to use it. And all I'm doing is just letting that kind of drop over the edges there. Now if I do this, excuse me, if I do this from my tube, I'm going to be wasting a lot of this E6000. And it's not too expensive, but I really don't want to waste it. Now I missed some spots. I might need to get some more E6000, I do. And also, if you recall, in our last, in our videos that we've used E6000, this is our permanent bond, and the glue gun is kind of our temporary bond. So hot sun, if these are in direct hot sun, you might get a little bit of melting just using your hot glue. So that's something to consider. Mine are going to be on a shaded porch. And I even have some inside flowers. I might put a couple of these in. Now basically I'm going to do the same thing with the hot glue gun. I'm just going to put a generous amount on each of my connections. So wherever it connects to another bottle cap, I'm going to push this together. Now, I think I'm done with my E6000, but I'm going to take my glue gun, minus that little drip. I need to scoot that together a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to just go over all my sections. And it's going to look really messy from the back, but we don't care, because it's going to be the back. This will not be seen, obviously, because it is on the back. But the good thing is it will dry clear, and so there's no worries. Now I'm going to let this dry for just a moment. I'm going to let it cool down, because I want the glue gun to cool down enough so I can turn it over for you. And we know that the E6000, it's going to take a while for it to dry. Now I'm going to put this one over to the side. We're going to let that cool. And then let me show you how I did the painted ones. Because not all the time are you going to have this quantity. Like, these are all the same. So that's going to make at least 5 or 6 flowers, but not all times are you going to find a large quantity of the same bottle cap. And so what I've decided to do was paint them, and it was relatively easy. I just took my paintbrush. I first painted them blue. We've used this paint so much. I just love it, especially in the summer. This is a chalk paint. I put 2 coats on, and then I took the end of an eraser that had never been used, and I dipped that into some white paint, and I dabbed just a little bit of it off, and then I made my 3 dots on each of the petals, and that was easy. After that, though, I did want to protect them, so I did put some Mod Podge on them, and that's going to protect the paint from any weather that you might have. Now, I wasn't able to get enough coats on it. I didn't worry about putting another one on it this morning. This one has 2. This is the acrylic. It did not cover as well as the chalk paint, and that's okay. You could spray paint these actually if you wanted to. I don't mind that there's that red in there. It actually kind of still adds to the flower itself. Now this one I'm only going to hot glue. So I'm going to turn this over. This is my painting surface. I'm going to turn these over. We're going to push them together. And I'm going to use my hot glue one more time. My glue gun has 2 settings, a high and a low. It's on low. That's the reason it's not coming out as quickly as I'd like. My goal is to get a cordless glue gun. Maybe Mother's Day. Okay, now we're going to let this one cool down for just a few moments. And let's see how our other one is doing. Okay, holding together well. There are still some spots here that are not dried, and that's the E6000. But I am to the point where I can go ahead and put my skewer on. Depending on how tall you want these, you can break your skewer down. I'm just going to use what was left of the one that I broke a few minutes ago. And I'm going to go to the area that's got at least 3 here in the center. And I'm going to glue them. I don't remember if this had a... Yeah, I want to try to do it this way. Okay. So I'm going to lay this down. And hot glue. And again, if you're using the E6000, you'll want to put a little layer of E6000 first. And then just hot glue. I'm using a lot of it. I have to get another glue stick. Now, we're going to put that over there. Let it dry. Whoops, coming up here. I'm going to hold it down for just a second. Next week I'm going to be showing you how to make a wonderful little flower door hanger made from foam board. I'm excited about that one because it turned out super cute. And let's check the progress on our blue one. Remember, this one is just hot glued together. Perfect. You can add more hot glue if you still feel like it's unstable, but I'm going to go ahead and get my skewer and we'll hot glue that down the center as well. I'm going to start with some hot glue on those surfaces. And remember, I mentioned to you that you could use wire. Actually, I think the wire would be kind of neat looking, but I didn't have wire. And you know, you can't really find the metal hangers anymore. Let me hold this one down. Oh no, the back of it looks really messy. Pardon that. Now, I had someone suggest, one of my coworkers, that if you took the skewer off of one, you could easily have two-sided. So think about that as well. If this bothers you, think about making two of them and putting them just back to back, because they're going to fit perfectly, and put your skewer up the center between those two. But this doesn't bother me. And there is our flower for the garden. Now, I'm still going to let this one dry. If you'll recall, this one has, I still even see that the E6000 is a little wet in through there. So, you know, feel free to wait just a little bit longer. Let's check this one out. This looks great. How cute is that? I see a little bit of our hot glue there, and that will dry clear. Perfect. Now, let me just explain how to do the other one. The other one's actually probably even easier. Line them up in your little flower shape. Don't forget your center one, put it in there. I covered my lid, my seal, with E6000 and hot glue. And then I just dropped that right down in the center of the bottle caps. And I kept pushing and pushing, making sure I had a strong adhesion. And then when I turned it over, they were all stuck to this. So if you feel like the shininess doesn't bother you, actually on this one I don't mind it at all, then feel free to put those bottle caps down, and then once you get them in your pattern, glue, 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 place it right down on there, and then press. And while that is cooling, then that will allow you to have your image, your flower, on the seal. Okay? All right, let's look at them all again. Let me move some of my supplies away from here. These are going to be cuties in your flower pots. Move them up so you can see. We've got all of these. My mistake, the one that's off-centered, but I even have this one. I hope you've enjoyed this craft. Feel free to pick up one of the kits from the library. We will have those available starting today. If you make these, please post them to our Facebook website and keep crafting.